Wanrong, the last Empress of China, has long been a figure of both mystery and tragedy. Born into an aristocratic family, she entered history as a symbol of the fading imperial grandeur of the Qing dynasty. Married to Puyi, the last emperor of China, she was part of a royal family that was already in decline by the time she ascended to the role of empress. Her life, filled with political instability, personal suffering, and eventual tragic humiliation, was further complicated by the existence of an illegitimate child. The story of this child, often ignored by history, adds another layer to Wanrong's tragic legacy, while the empress herself faced one of the most humiliating fates a royal figure could experience: imprisonment and physical restraint in chains. Wanrong's early life was one of privilege and beauty. She was born in 1906 to a noble family in the imperial court, and from a young age, she was seen as a perfect match for the emperor. At just 16 years old, Wanrong married Puyi in 1922, becoming the empress consort of China's last imperial ruler. However, by this time, the Qing dynasty was on the brink of collapse. The 1911 revolution had brought an end to the centuries-old imperial rule, and China was now a republic, with the monarchy reduced to little more than a symbol of a fading past. Puyi's reign was no longer about ruling China but rather about preserving the ancient rituals of the emperor, despite the fall of the Qing dynasty. Puyi's imperial status continued to hold some semblance of political and social significance, though increasingly hollow. For Wanrong, this meant that she was placed in a role where the glories of imperial life clashed with the harsh realities of living under the shadow of a collapsing regime. Her marriage to Puyi was not one based on affection but rather political convenience, as Puyi's position was largely symbolic, and the empress's role was confined to ceremonial duties. During the early years of their marriage, Puyi's emotional distance and the deteriorating situation in China took a toll on Wanrong. As China transitioned into a republic and the emperor was deposed, Wanrong found herself navigating a fragile and increasingly hostile political environment. It was at this time that Wanrong, though married to Puyi, allegedly began an affair with another man, a relationship that resulted in the birth of an illegitimate child. The details of the child's birth remain shrouded in secrecy, and the identity of the father has never been confirmed. Nevertheless, the rumors surrounding the child's existence persisted for years, despite the fact that the child was kept away from public attention. This secret child of Wanrong represents one of the few remaining mysteries of her life. The very idea of an illegitimate heir, particularly one born to a woman who had once been at the very heart of imperial power, carried immense political and social weight. During the Qing dynasty, the concept of royal legitimacy was paramount, and a child born outside the sanctity of marriage could have serious implications for the family's legacy. The child was likely hidden from the public eye, with very few historical records remaining of the circumstances surrounding its birth and existence. In addition to the turmoil caused by the birth of her illegitimate child, Wanrong's life became even more tragic as the political situation in China deteriorated. After the abdication of Puyi in 1912 and the establishment of the Republic of China, Wanrong's status as empress lost all formal significance. The fall of the Qing dynasty plunged Wanrong into obscurity, and she found herself living under the control of political forces that had no respect for her once illustrious position. In the years that followed, Wanrong's life grew increasingly difficult. The personal trauma and loss of power that she experienced were compounded by emotional and physical suffering. It was during this period of hardship that Wanrong was subjected to one of the most humiliating experiences of her life. She was imprisoned and put in chains. After Puyi's abdication, the former emperor was taken under the control of the Japanese and later lived as a puppet ruler in the state of Manchukuo, a Japanese-controlled puppet state. Wanrong was left behind in China, and the humiliation she experienced during this period marked the final chapters of her life. The reasons for her imprisonment in chains remain unclear, but it is believed that Wanrong's mental and emotional distress, exacerbated by her isolation and the collapse of the imperial system, led to her being treated in such a cruel manner. Her chains may have been both a physical and symbolic representation of her fall from grace, as the once powerful empress was reduced to a figure of tragedy and suffering. During this time, she was reportedly denied adequate care, which took a toll on her health. Her imprisonment in chains became one of the most enduring images of the cruelty she suffered during the twilight of the Qing dynasty, despite the cruelty she endured, Wanrong's story did not end with her imprisonment. She continued to live for several more years, suffering from the harsh conditions and neglect that defined her final years. The emotional toll of her life and her physical suffering led to her eventual demise in 1948, just a few years before Puyi's death. Wanrong was only in her early 40s at the time of her death, and her premature passing marked the end of the last chapter in the saga of the Qing dynasty. The illegitimate child of Wanrong, though largely erased from historical records, remains a poignant symbol of the personal struggles and tragedies that marked her life. The existence of this child, whether an act of defiance, love, or simply a consequence of her emotional turmoil, serves as a reminder of the personal costs of living in a world where power and legitimacy are everything. In a time when imperial legitimacy defined a family's role in history, the birth of an illegitimate child threatened to bring dishonor to the royal family. The fact that Wanrong's child remained hidden only adds to the sense of loss and secrecy that characterized the Empress's life. Wanrong's tragic life, marked by her early beauty, imperial grandeur, and ultimate degradation, is a story of immense suffering. From being chained to losing her royal status, she embodied the decline of a dynasty and the personal toll that political instability can have on individuals. Her illegitimate child, though forgotten by history, remains a symbol of the complexities of her life, of love, rebellion, and the irreversible effects of an empire's collapse. Wanrong's legacy, though overshadowed by the fall of the Qing dynasty, serves as a poignant reminder of the fragility of power, the human costs of political upheaval, and the personal tragedies that often lie behind the grandest of royal histories. The child she bore outside of marriage is perhaps one of the final pieces of her story, a piece that was lost in time, but which continues to haunt the narrative of one of China's most tragic empresses.